Are you ready for some football? What?
Let's talk about the NFC now, the Superior Conference, because my team's in it.
Here's a weird thing I thought about.
Huh.
Why is it the American and the National Football Conference? Aren't those the same thing?
Well, you see, it's because of the National Football League and the American Football League. You moron! When they
But they're
merged,
synonyms.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it's just those teams that were in the AFL, they're in the AFC now. And if you were just like a smart team that was cool and awesome and historically awesome, you're in the NFC. Except for the ones that aren't, like Seattle and the next team we're going to be talking about actually. So,
Yeah.
the NFC South, the team that was in last place were the Carolina Panthers at 5-12. Um, I think their coach Matt Rule might be one of the worst coaches in the league. Agree?
Yeah.
He was the Baylor guy, right?
Mm-hmm. In
That was like
Temple.
super hyped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. The Panthers, two pretty big losses. Stephon Gilmore went to Indianapolis, and Hassan Reddick decided to go to the worst place you could in the league. But they now have a quarterback again, a new one, Baker Mayfield. Traded for him and Rashard Higgins. How do you think Baker's going to do in his new environment? He's coming off of that torn labrum injury. Even though, most Browns fans say that, there's no like hard feelings or they didn't hate Baker, it always seemed like there was kind of a, I guess, beef in Cleveland, like kind of a weird air always towards him. So do you think this new outlook's going to help him? Because he's probably going to win the starting job over Darnold.
I think he's definitely an upgrade over Darnold. I've always liked Baker, and I say I don't love Baker, but I've always thought that he gets too much shit, and I think it's just because he's kind of a cocky prick, which I get it. Sometimes that can rub people the wrong way, but at the end of the day, every quarterback is a cocky prick. It's just that he's a little bit more outward with it. Um,
Yeah.
I think he's gonna do well in the sense of he's going to be an improvement. He's going to be an improvement from what they've had for the last few years. I think he'll be very consistent. I think it's a good move. I mean, I think they didn't really have to give up much for him. I don't even think they're paying his full salary. And Mayfield gets to walk after a year, so he has every motivation to go out there and play his very best. And if he does a good enough job, he'll be rewarded with some sort of contract. Probably not a huge, franchise quarterback contract, but something. And I believe in it. I don't think that they're going to be great as a team, but I think that he'll play respectably.
Hot take. Draft DJ Moore in fantasy this year because I think he's gonna
Wow,
have his best season yet.
his best season.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
think he's always been a pretty good wideout so far, and he's had what Teddy Bridgewater throwing to him. I think he had Cam Newton when he was a corpse.
Yeah.
Uh, Sam Darnold.
Sam
Baker
Darnold.
is probably the best quarterback he's gonna have. And yeah, I agree with everything you said. Like I've never hated Baker. I think he gets a lot of hate because of the Hulu ads, to be honest, and the
Progressive ads.
progressive, right? Um, and honestly, he kind of got screwed over by the Browns because he won him that playoff game. He was riding high, and everyone just kind of used his injury as like see, look, Baker's bad. Let's get rid of him. Get the fuck out of here. Which kind of, I don't know, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. They kind of just threw him out, I guess, like out of nowhere. Because there was talk, like, remember, like there was talk at the beginning of the year of Baker signing the like a long-term deal with the Browns. Like everyone was
Mm-hmm.
thinking, he was going to be their quarterback for years to come because of the playoff game. He had a good season in 2020, and then 2021 happens. He gets hurt, and everyone's saying that he's shit. But no one ever brought up the fact that he was injured. So there's kind of like a weird, I guess, vendetta against Baker in my eyes.
I can see that.
But they also drafted Matt Corral out of Ole Miss in the third round. So there's three guys that could potentially end up playing quarterback for Carolina, which is not what Carolina Panther fans want to hear because they have not had a quarterback since, Cam. Well, when Cam was Cam. Um, and I think a lot of them are very. They're going to be very impatient with Matt Rule this year. I think he needs to post a winning season to avoid being fired. Not going to spoil my record for them, but let's just say I don't see that happening.
I agree with that. I think Matt Rule is absolutely on the hot seat, and I think that he'll get fired. I mean, I think he hasn't really shown anything special. I think he at least has a quarterback that he should be able to get a 500, or I guess it would be an above 500 or just below. I think if he went 8 and 9 and they looked pretty good at the end of the year, he could probably save his job. But I think he needs to show something, and I don't really think he will.
Over under for McCaffrey games played this season.
Fuck. Um, would you take the over or under if it was 7.5 games?
I'd have to take. Fuck, man. I'll take the over. I think he's gonna get hurt again, though.
What if it was 10.5?
I'm taking under. Absolutely.
So there's your number, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think he'll play. I think he can play. No, I could see him playing 10 games, but I'm not trying to, jinx him or anything. But this guy cannot stay healthy, and he's still like the number 2 ranked guy for fantasy on the boards. Don't draft Christian McCaffrey unless you
Yeah,
want to trade bait him with someone.
it's a bad idea. I tried it last year.
Yeah, I'm just trying to give some advice. Fucking, you have anything else to add to the Panthers?
Their black helmets are pretty sick.
I've always liked their unis. I like the blue and the black. It's pretty nice.
I like the colors. I don't like their uniform design, but I like the black helmets.
Oh, do you think they're gonna be? Nah, I'm not gonna ask that question because we'll answer it towards the record segment. But the third place team were the Atlanta Falcons, who somehow ended up being 7-10. That doesn't seem right, but it's true. They had a very weird season. Obviously Matt Ryan's gone now. They lost Dante Fowler Jr. He goes to Dallas. Hayden Hurst goes to Cincy. Foyesade Oluwakun. Oluwakun. I don't know how to say his name. He's in Jacksonville now. He's pretty good. But their additions, the big one, is Marcus Mariota to play quarterback for him this year.
Mm-hmm.
I know they drafted Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati. Do you think this is just a whatever year for him? Like, they didn't really do anything. They just kind of got rid of Matt Ryan. Marcus Mariota is clearly the stopgap. You think this is just like a develop year? Kyle Pitts is really good. Just putting that in there.
To me, last year was, do we have a coach? And Arthur Smith getting him to 7-10, sort of, maybe it didn't fully prove it, but it gave him enough confidence to say, all right, let's enter into a rebuild with this being our coach. That's my theory. I don't know if it's true, but I think that's what's going on because I think that they are rebuilding. I don't see how they're going to be very good at all this year. I think that's by design. Marcus Mariota, I mean, at least he can run, but I'm shocked that they got to 7-10 last year. I don't think I watched a snap of Falcons football last year, um, and I think they're kind of tanking.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Also, their new uniforms suck. They're really bad.
The fucking gradient, yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, I hate the little ATL they have on the like chest, like whatever you want to call that, the collar, I guess.
Airport code on their
Um,
chest.
they drafted Drake London, who's supposed to be really good. I hope he's good because he has one of the funniest names I think I've ever heard for a football player. Drake London.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're pretty obviously rebuilding. I think if they have a worse record, um, they're not gonna care, right? Like they're clearly trying to rebuild. Uh, they'll probably have Ritter play a game or two at least, but I don't think Mariota is gonna be their quarterback next season. I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, it'd be a shock.
But in second place for the South were the New Orleans Saints. They went 9-8. Their longtime head coach Sean Payton, he resigned. He retired, I believe. That was kind of surprising, I gotta say. He's been there for so long.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the old Saints teams, Breeze and Payton, like it's finally the new era. Their new coach is Dennis Allen. I think he's been with the team, wasn't he? Their defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's been the
Like
defensive coordinator, and he stepped in last year when I believe Sean Payton had COVID.
right, right. And so they did lose two really good players, and Taron Armstead and Marcus Williams. They brought in Jarvis Landry, Tyrann Mathieu, Marcus May, Andy Dalton, Daniel Sorensen, Malcolm Brown, Taco Charlton. That is like one of the most cursed free agent like additions I think I've
Taco.
ever seen.
Good old Taco.
I hate Taco.
I know
Uh,
you hate Taco.
have you? So they drafted this guy Trevor Penning. He's their second first round pick. Have you seen the videos of this kid?
Nah.
He's fucking fighting everybody. It's insane.
Like after
He's
the
gotten
play?
into yeah, and his own teammates. He's fighting his own teammates in like practice and drills. Like he's gotten into 4 fights.
Bounty Gate 2 coming soon.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, man. Like some people say they like that. I do like, a guy that's willing to just fuck a guy up, but not my own like teammates constantly. Do it to the
Yeah.
other guys, man.
Save that shit for the bad guys, man.
But they drafted Chris Olave. He's supposed to be a very good wideout. The biggest question with the Saints, obviously, is Jameis. He didn't look that bad before he got hurt. Obviously, he tore his ACL. I think only 5 games into the season. He's gonna be back again. How do you think Jameis is gonna do? Because we saw a different Jameis for a little bit there, at the beginning of the season.
Call me crazy. I am kind of a Jameis believer, at least for this season. I don't know. It looked like he was a little bit more composed. It looked like he wasn't making as stupid of plays. And the Saints are one of these teams, and maybe it was Peyton, maybe it's the system, I don't know, but they just have a way to always be pretty competitive, at least recently. And I don't know. I think he's going to at least be serviceable enough where they're going to be competitive in a lot of these games. I know it's a new coach, but Dennis Allen's been there. I kind of think it might be a smooth transition. I kind of think the Saints will be kind of good.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't know if I'm fully sold on Jameis, but I think if he continues to do what he was doing those first couple of games, like the Saints can definitely compete with the NFC, because the NFC is a weaker conference. Like they can definitely
Absolutely.
sneak into the wild card. I don't think they're gonna overtake Tampa Bay simply because of well, we're gonna get to Tampa Bay, but yeah, no, I agree with you on the Saints and Jameis. Um, if he goes back to the turnover Jameis, though, I think that's the
Thank
final
God.
straw
That's
for
going to
him.
be amazing. So entertaining.
Yeah, maybe it was the laser eye surgery, man. Like shit.
Yeah, being able to see kind of helps.
But obviously, the team that won the division last year were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who lost in the divisional round to the Rams. Bruce Arians, their coach, retired. Todd Bowles is going to take over. He was their defensive coordinator. They lost O.J. Howard, but they have Julio Jones coming in, Logan Ryan, Shaq Mason, Kyle Rudolph, Keanu Neal, just some notable names. And Brady decided to cuck everybody and piss everybody off in classic Tom Brady fashion.
Yep.
Says he's going to retire. Or, well, Adam Schefter said he was going to retire. I think it was Schefter, right?
I
Or
hate
was it
that guy.
Rappaport?
It was Scheffner. He sucks.
Yeah, why can't he just be like Jeff Passan? Everybody likes that guy because he's not a dick.
Yeah.
Or Woj in the NBA.
Yeah, well, and also, like, didn't Scheffner say, like, Haskins sucked at football, and by the way, he died, or something shitty like that? Like, he's just tone deaf.
Yeah, he said Dwayne Haskins. He said that he died, and then when he was like summing up his life, like he was like, "Oh, Dwayne Haskins is dead today." Although it didn't work out when he was in Washington, and then he went to Pittsburgh, and it didn't work out there. And I was like,
So
okay,
unnecessary.
dude, like shut the fuck up.
So unnecessary.
Yeah, but Brady's back. A lot of people are saying it's out of spite, but Tom Brady did say he wanted to play till he was 45. Conveniently, he will be 45, or he is 45. I'm not too sure. But Gronk, as of right now, is retired. Hopefully, it stays that way. But there's a lot of belief that he's just doing that to get out of training camp and drills and all that. So you think Gronk will be back as well?
I think Gronk is retired, and I think that part of why I think it'll stick this time is they actually went out and got Kyle Rudolph. I think that signals that they think they at least the Buccaneers think he's serious this time. Um, I think it's real, and I think that this is going to be Brady's Derek Jeter season, where he's going to go around and everyone's going to cheer for him and give him
God.
gifts and suck his dick, and it's going to be insufferable. And Chris Collinsworth is going to be the most
Now here's a
insufferable
guy.
this year. Now here's a guy, and he's oh god, it's gonna be terrible. Um, but I think that Gronk is done. I think Brady's on his last year, and that's what I think about that.
So the last thing I want to talk about with Tampa Bay is since I mean, yeah, Brady's done. Um, they didn't really do anything before Brady like came back out of retirement, so I don't really know what their plan is for life after Tom Brady because they have all these really good players. They're not going to rebuild. So, do you think we could see a trade for Jimmy G if he's still on the Niners or one of those guys like a Baker, someone like that? What do you think their next move should be for that position?
I think they wait until Brady's out of the building for sure. I don't think they're gonna draft somebody to sit behind him, especially not Jimmy G with all the baggage that he'll bring. I think they wait,
That'd
and
be
they
so funny
basically
though.
it would be hilarious. But I think they're gonna basically say, well, we, got rid of Jameis and Brady came. Maybe once Brady's gone, we can get somebody else to come in and sign. I think they're just gonna let it play out. It might not be the best idea, but I think that they want to make it so that Brady feels comfortable for as long as he's there. And I think that this is his last year, but if he does play next year, the Bucks, they don't have him under contract next year. They want to keep the door open just in case. Because wouldn't you want to keep him if you could?
A 46-year-old quarterback. I don't know.
Depends
I
on
mean, it
how
is
well
the
I do
GOAT.
this year, I guess.
I hate him though.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's your turn for standings first.
All right. The bottom of the division, I have the Atlanta Falcons at 3-14. I think they suck. I think they are rebuilding. Next, I have the Carolina Panthers. I think they only win one more game and go 6-11. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I feel like they'll win a few games early and then they'll kind of implode and it'll just be a disaster. Possibly even fire Rule before the season ends. It's just going to be a disaster. Next, I have the New Orleans Saints going 10-7. So I'm serious about the Saints being good. I think that they will find their way into the playoffs. But Tampa Bay will remain the number one team in the division at 12-5.
Okay, so for my standings, I have the Falcons at 3-14 at the very bottom. I then have the Carolina Panthers in third, also at 3-14. I don't believe in Matt Rule at all.
Wow.
I don't think this record reflects necessarily on any of the players, but more or less the coach. I don't believe in Matt Rule. He has not made a sound football decision, in my opinion. I haven't seen it. I think he showed his true colors last year when any coach that has a two quarterback system needs to be fired. Once you do that, you're just like it's just not going to work out. I don't see it. I think he's just going to keep flip-flopping quarterbacks, trying all these things. Unfortunately, I think McCaffrey will go down again at some point. I don't know how Baker is necessarily going to do, and if they have to rely at all on Sam Darnold. I mean, it's Sam Darnold. He got mono.
Yeah.
Second, I have the New Orleans Saints, and the way you talked about the Saints makes me think that you think it's a hot take that you had them at 10-7, but I also have them at 10-7.
Wow.
Making the playoffs. I also believe in the Saints. I think Dennis Allen being their coach and kind of just seeing the system and all that shouldn't really hurt them that much. If they do get little bitch boy back, like that's a good weapon for Jameis, and the defense is still going to be really good. Cam Jordan, classic. But yeah, I think the Bucks will win the division because of course they will. I have them at 13-4 though.
Okay, are they your number one?
They are not the number one seed.
Okay.
They are I believe, second. Yeah, they're the second seed.
Okay.
Next up in the NFC, we have our favorite division, the NFC West. And
yeah,
the team that finished last is a team that really means a lot to me.
Oh yeah.
We have the Seattle Seahawks, who finished 7-10.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. They lost Russell Wilson, Bobby Wagner, Carlos Dunlap. But they gained Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, Quentin Jefferson. They literally lost the two best players their franchises ever had in one offseason.
Yes.
And it couldn't have happened to a better franchise. And the moment these fucking guys left, their fans started shit talking them, of course, because that's what Seahawk fans do.
I've been hearing for the last 3 years about how, Wilson doesn't fit into our culture anymore. We need to go out and get a better quarterback. Seahawks fans, you will not get a better quarterback probably ever again. If you do, you will be very lucky to, because it's very rare to have two Hall of Famers for the same team in close proximity to each other. Um, Russell Wilson is the only reason. I mean, of course, they had their defense. They had, the Legion of Boom. But the arrogance that the Seahawks fans have, um, to see Russell Wilson walk out the door and act like they're going to improve because of that, give me a fucking break.
It was I mean I fucking hate the Seahawks, as people know, but it was I felt personally insulted when I listened to ESPN Seattle radio today, and they were so giddy about the quarterback competition between Geno Smith and Drew Lock. You guys are fucked. You think any of them are gonna be better than Wilson was? I know the Seahawks. Well, okay, this is a good point. This is a good segue because I don't even know what the Seahawks are trying to do now. Because they clearly need to rebuild, and they're clearly trying to, but then they brought in a bunch of like defensive players to try and improve the defense. They still have Pete Carroll there, John Schneider. They didn't fire, they didn't clean house, even though they want like a new era. It just seems very odd that the Seahawks are taking this direction. It's like a baseball team kind of trying to compete, rebuild, so they're just like mediocre. That's kind of how I see them. They're like I don't know, the fucking Colorado Rockies right now.
The moves to get rid of, and obviously, like, I'm sure Wilson requested a trade, but the moves of keeping Carroll and Schneider and sort of pushing out Wilson out the door, it screams like an ownership
And Wagner.
group that, and Wagner. It screams an ownership group that doesn't really know a lot about football, and probably is just friends with Carroll. I mean, I see this as Pete Carroll has their trust for whatever reason, and they don't want to deal with going and finding a new coach. It screams apathy from the owner. I don't know anything about the ownership group in Seattle, but it's just bizarre because why else would you pick Carroll over Russell Wilson? I don't get it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't really know the whole Seahawks ownership thing because obviously they were owned by Paul Allen for a long time, and unfortunately he passed on, and I think it went to his wife for a bit, but I forget if she sold or not, or if it's just like in his estate. That's what I'm guessing. Okay, I just looked
Mm-hmm.
it up. So it's in his estate still, and it's actually his sister who is like the chairman of it right now. So I think you were kind of right about that. Like she
Maybe she's just
probably,
friends with Pete. I don't know.
yeah, I think it might be like, you know, she just has that personal relationship with Pete Carroll and doesn't really want to let him go for that. And same with John Schneider. I mean, they did bring them a Super Bowl. That was, you know,
True.
almost a decade ago or about to be a decade. But I mean, it's not like relationships just change because you're not winning. Like they're probably still friends and all that. But I think it's a very bad move for the Seahawks to kind of half-ass a rebuild, especially with how their division has played out in recent years. Like just a couple seasons ago, the Seahawks were a very good team, and so were the Niners and Rams. And it's, the Cardinals they came up a little bit. The Seahawks are kind of looking like the team out, the odd one out now. So
Yeah.
also Marshawn Lynch got a DUI, and that was really weird.
And he owns the
Kraken
Kraken.
owner.
Yeah.
He d-
With Macklemore.
he does. All right. Well, the team that finished third were the San Francisco 49ers. They went 10-7, made it all the way to the NFC Championship game, where they lost to the Rams, of course. They lost Raheem Mostert, Mohamed Sanu, Jaquiski Tart, who was the player that dropped that interception.
Hmm.
I just got to bring it up. That was
Yeah.
wow. I can believe it.
I forgot where
Uh,
I saw his name before.
their only really notable signing was they signed Shavarius Ward from KC. Um, really, the big thing about the Niners, they're the exact same team, but I they're going with Trey Lance. I get it. They drafted him, but once again, I mean Jimmy got them to the playoffs. He got them almost all the way to the Super Bowl. They're not going to trade him, but they're not going to play him. I don't understand that.
I think they got stuck. I think they wanted to trade him. Nobody bit. And now they're like, well, shit, what do we do now? Um, I think it's a mistake to go with both of them into the season. I think it doesn't make a lot of sense, especially if you're going to start Trey and sit Jimmy. That really doesn't make sense.
They're putting Lance in a very bad spot because if he struggles at all early on in the season, all the fans are instantly going to be calling for Jimmy. And that can ruin, some confidence, kind of mess with his head. Like, he's only started, what, 2, 3 games last season when Jimmy was hurt?
That's why I think you just got to get a 6th round pick for him or cut him and just say, fuck it. Because I think it's a bad idea to try to have both of them unless you're going to start Jimmy for the first couple weeks, That'd be the only way you could justify it. But then you look like an idiot for drafting a guy and not letting the other guy go. Like they're not really in a good situation and they kind of did it to themselves, I think.
Yeah, at first, to me, it looked like they were just trying to do the Alex Smith Mahomes thing, right? Like, have Trey Lance sit behind Jimmy G for the season last year, and then trade Garoppolo, but they never traded him. And they should have traded him to a team like Carolina. Carolina would have taken him. The Browns might have taken him if they traded him early on, right?
They
There's
still might.
definitely. Sorry?
They still might at this point.
True. Yeah, true. Uh, but yeah, it just seems like a missed opportunity for the Niners, which is very weird because I think Shanahan's a very good offensive coach. And the Niners recently have been like a very good like franchise recently.
Yeah.
Um, so it's kind of a surprise because I feel like you said, I think they're botching this as well. And I don't know. I don't think Trey Lance. I don't think he's necessarily bad, but I don't think he is at that level where he can come in and command an offense to get them to the playoffs. In my personal opinion, from what
Okay.
I've seen from him.
Yeah.
The team that finished second were the Arizona Cardinals. They went 11-6, lost in the wild card to the eventual Super Bowl champions. They lost Chandler Jones, Christian Kirk, Jordan Hicks, Jordan Phillips, but they got Mark Hollywood Brown. They signed Kyler to a very massive extension. They also said that he needs to do homework like 5 hours a week. What was it? 4 hours a week or something?
Yeah,
Like
something like
extra
that.
film.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about the Cardinals' season that they had? Kind of a surprise team, right? Last season.
They started off really hot and then they crashed, but they were able to, at least have a hot enough start where even the most disastrous of a train wreck wouldn't stop them from going to the playoffs. They go to the playoffs, they shit the bed. Kyler looked awful, and then they reward Kyler with a contract, and I believe they also rewarded Cliff Kingsbury with a contract. So I
They did.
guess we're gonna be seeing a lot of Cliff and Kyler for a while, and the question is it sustainable? And I think the answer is no. I don't get it. I mean, I like watching Kyler play. I don't know why you'd want him to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks. I don't get the air raid shit that Kingsbury's doing. It's a very college offense. and it's fun to watch. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know that it's really gonna win you anything in the NFL other than maybe a playoff game at some point. I think last year was more of an anomaly than the norm, and I think that they're in for a bit of an awakening. I don't think they'll be horrible, but I don't think that they're going to take steps forward.
I second that. I think Kingsbury is a college coach who, for some unexplainable reason, got the job. I still don't know how he really got the job, and so far he's been fine, but I mean, what's the thing everyone says about him? All of his teams collapse. It happened again. The Cardinals didn't have any expectations coming into the season. They're going to have them now. There's already been that distraction with the Kyler contract, which was not even necessary at all and shouldn't have even, been included or released to the public. But I've never seen a franchise say, like, you're going to be our franchise player, but let us also babysit you and insult you publicly in front of everybody. I think there's going to be a lot of distractions. I think last season was a fluke as well, and I will wait to talk about them more in the standings portion.
Okay.
All right, and the team that finished first in the division and the NFL, because they were the Super Bowl champions, the Los Angeles Rams, who went 12-5, won the Super Bowl. They lost Von Miller, Robert Woods, Sony Michel, and as of right now, OBJ is still a free agent. But they signed Bobby Wagner, Allen Robinson, Troy Hill, and they don't have any draft picks, like ever.
Yeah.
I think the biggest question about the Rams is because they don't have a lot of cap space, they don't have draft picks, but they have this very, very good team. So it's really Super Bowl or bust again with them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much it, right? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the Super Bowl again. Like, Stafford's still going to be there as the quarterback. Aaron Donald might be the best player in the league.
I think they definitely have a 1 to 3 year window here where they could very well go back and win a Super Bowl or two. I don't know that it's going to happen, and it will get harder and harder every year just because of that cap. But they have a very talented team, and they might have spent a lot for it in terms of draft capital, but it's here, and they're not going anywhere. I mean, they are a very good team. Bobby Wagner is a great addition. I mean, he's still a really good player. Obviously, losing Von Miller is not great, but, he wasn't. He was good.
He wasn't
and all,
there at
but
the
he
start
wasn't.
of the season.
Yeah, you'll be fine without him. McVay is weird, but he's a fucking offensive wizard. I think they are set up to have a great season. I think they very well could repeat. I wouldn't be. I mean, nobody would be shocked if it was the Rams and the Chiefs. Like that's not the most exciting pick, and I didn't pick either of those teams. But no one would be surprised because they're both great and they're gonna be good for the next couple of years. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about it.
Shout out to Cooper Kupp, great fucking player, great season. That was insane.
Yeah.
All right, I think I'm going first.
Go for
this
it.
time. All right, so the team that I have last, and it really hurt me to do this, but I have the Seattle Seahawks going a pathetic 3-14. I hate you. I do like your stadium.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I like about you.
And
Bring
the city,
back
of
the
course.
throwback uniforms, and maybe I'll like you guys a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you still
silver
make me
helmets.
sick. Sorry, I cut you off like 3 times.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you. Bring back the silver helmets, the brighter blue jerseys. Get rid of the Nike shit, and Have your fans learn a thing or two about football before they shit talk me. Then I'll like you
Yeah,
better.
get rid of the stupid feathers on the jersey. You're not a college foot. You're not Oregon, bro. It looks dumb,
Yeah.
cheesy.
I'm all for trying new things, but those had its time, and like let's move on. You know.
Keep the lime unis though, because they're
Yeah,
bad and
those are
funny, and you
funny.
can green screen.
I love putting those in for Madden. Those are fun.
Yeah. Or you remember where they had the green shirts, but they wore like the blue pants when it was
Yeah,
like the old
the Hasselbeck.
the Hasselbeck ones. Yeah,
Those were
those were
so
really bad.
bad. Yeah.
In third place, I have the Arizona Cardinals, and like I've been hinting, I have them going 7-10. I don't believe in the Cardinals. I think it was a fluke season. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of distractions. I think with Kyler, and they're gonna have a much harder schedule. Like the Cardinals, they were the fourth place team, so they had a easier schedule than the other teams in the West because all the other ones made the playoffs. Maybe not the Niners, I forget, but I just don't see it. I don't think they're gonna be horrible. They're just gonna be that mediocre team where, like they'll win a couple, but they're not gonna be a threat, I guess.
Yeah.
And I also have the Niners missing the playoffs, and I have them going 8-9. I think there's going to be some growing pains with Trey Lance if they do have him as their starting quarterback throughout the entire season. I think the
Okay.
Niners are a very talented team, but Trey Lance is not a proven commodity. At least if they had porn star Jimmy playing, I think they do make the playoffs. I'm not saying Jimmy is a fantastic quarterback, but I mean, we are. It's happened, like
Yeah.
all the time with him.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously in first place I have the Rams. I have them going 14-3. They have the best record in all of football, and they are the number one seed in the NFC. I just think they're. I mean, they're loaded. How Ramsey, Stafford. I mean, come on now, right? Like, would anyone be surprised if the Rams repeated like we asked? No. So
No.
that's who I have as the number one seed and also the NFC West winner.
Okay. So for number 4, I also have the Seahawks. I put them a little higher. I put them at 5-12. Just a couple more wins than you had them, but still at the basement. Still.
You like that Drew Lock horsecock?
Oh, big fan. Yeah, big fan of the Drew Lock
Nice.
horsecock. Still got a top 10 draft pick, and we'll get into draft picks later. For the Cardinals, I have them going 9-8. So they regress a little bit, but they're still around 500. The illusion that this is going to be a good regime will still be there. And there's going to be the excuse of, well, Hopkins wasn't around. Well, this happened. Well, that happened. Well, blah, 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 blah. Next, I have San Francisco. And I have them going 11-6. So the thing about San Francisco is I don't know if I believe 100% in Trey Lance, but I really do believe in Shanahan because no matter what happens, whether it's having to start Nick Mullins for a few, games, they just figure it out. They just win. And I think that I'm not predicting Trey Lance to be Mahomes or anything. I think that it's not going to matter how good he is because at the end of the day, they fucking dragged Jimmy G to a Super Bowl, and I think they're going to do the same thing with Lance, even though he's a rookie this year, or might as well be a rookie. So I have him doing well and making the playoffs. And then I have the Rams at 13-4. They are my number one seed, which means both of my number one seeds are LA teams. Fun fact.
That's the NFL's wet dream right there, dude.
It is.
Our next division is the NFC North, a division that you love so much, Keegan.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
very passionate about, don't you?
Yeah, sure do.
Don't you worry. All right, first up, we have the Detroit Lions. They went 3-13-1. They didn't really lose anyone. They added DJ Chark, Mike Hughes, Jared Davis. They drafted Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. He was the Heisman winner, right?
Um, I should know that.
No, no,
I
no. That was
actually
Bryce
don't know.
Young, wasn't it?
Yeah, young one.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, yeah.
That's right.
He
Hutchinson
was
was
a
a
finalist.
finalist. Yeah, yeah.
They also drafted Jamison Williams, who was a wideout. I saw a lot of people wanting.
Yep.
Uh, and I really like Dan Campbell, their head coach.
I'll tell you what,
I
man.
said that before the season or during the predictions we did last year, and goddamn, the more I see him, the more I love the guy, bro.
I desperately want him to be successful because he's hilarious.
Yeah, I fucking love the guy, and he has a lot of heart. And you know what? The Lions, they were really bad, but you look at a lot of their games, and they were surprisingly like one possession games that they were losing. So I think this season they'll be able to turn a couple of those into dubs this time around. I know Jared Goff isn't the best, and we meme on him a lot, but I mean, Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl. Like, he's not bad. He was a number one pick. You know, he's not this talentless hack like everyone likes to say about him. I think the Lions improve this season, and hopefully they continue on that.
Yeah, I see them taking a step forward. I still think they're the Lions. I still think that they're going to have a tough time. They're still in shambles from the Matt Patricia era. But, I mean, I think you make some good points. They kept games closer than you would have expected based on the record they ended up with. They played with heart. Goff, say what you will about him, but he played okay, and they won. You know, they won a couple games, and they celebrated like they won the Super Bowl. And I think that that's the right spirit to have when you're in that shitty of a situation. I think Aiden Hutchinson is a slam dunk pick because he's the hometown kid. Yeah, Goff's girlfriend, shout out. So yeah, I mean,
Really hot.
Lions are doing some stuff, man.
All right, the next team that finished third place obviously were the Chicago Bears. They went 6-11. They finally fired Matt Nagy. 2 years too late, if you ask me. I've never been a Nagy guy. I don't know what they kept, like why they kept him. They lost Khalil Mack. Allen Robinson leaves. Akeem Hicks, Andy Dalton, Nick Foles. Damn, son. But they got Byron Pringle, and he has a funny name. Oh shit, they got Equanimous St. Brown too. Let's go.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why do the Chicago Bears hate football?
That's a good question. Maybe it's because they saw the Cubs, like, the Cubs were always the lovable losers, and they want to be like that. Maybe. I'm not too sure. I also think it's because their owner's really bad, the McClaskey or whatever.
Yeah. They got rid of so many good
bad
players. They got rid of everyone who's good on their team. They didn't really sign anybody too great. I mean, and St. Brown, that's not bad. Riley Reef, past Viking, he's okay.
They got Camille Harry.
Yeah, so I mean, but it's just like they finally get a quarterback that people are like, hey, maybe this is the guy, and now they're gonna kill him behind the line. They drafted Trubisky over Mahomes. They had Matt Nagy for way too long. The best quarterback in their history is Jay Cutler. They ruined Soldier Field by making it look like a fucking spaceship, and now they're gonna move 30 minutes south of Chicago. Their turf is like the worst in the NFL. Like, they hate football, and their fans are miserable, and they hate football. The Chicago Bears hate football, and Mike Dick is an idiot.
No, they're not gonna like that, dude. Everything they're fine with, but not Ditka, bro. Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Justin Fields. He already looks like a Martian to begin with. And now they have him go behind that shitty O line. They made him. Everyone was like, "Oh, I feel so bad for Trevor Lawrence." Like, shit, maybe we should feel bad for Justin Fields too. Homie has the shitty O line. Had to work with Matt Nagy. I mean, Justin Fields, he's a very strange one because honestly, he had some flashes last season, and then he had some stinkers. So we're gonna have to see more from him. He has the new coach, Matt. What is his name? Eberflus.
Yeah.
Some weird shit like that.
I just don't
But
think that you can evaluate a quarterback in these conditions. He doesn't have an O line. He had Matt Nagy as a coach, and now he has a defensive coordinator as a coach, and the city he plays in hates football. I don't get how you can evaluate this guy like seriously. He's gonna wash out of Chicago, and he's gonna go somewhere and probably be more successful there. Like Chicago, get your shit together. I don't know.
not to mention, Justin Fields he's gonna have a lack of offensive support. Like it's just apparent. But I mean, losing Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks, those are two really big losses for that defense.
Massive.
And Allen Robinson, like, I mean, I think he's slightly overrated, but he was clearly their best, passing threat, and he's gone as well. So really, it's gonna be Justin Fields again, just running around for his life, just like it was a lot of those games last season.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not a believer in the Bears at all. The team that finished second in the NFC North, I'm gonna let you take it away because it was the Minnesota Vikings. Finished 8-9. Mike Zimmer was fired.
Yes.
I'll let you take it away.
Okay. Let's see where to begin. So the last 8 years we've been under Mike Zimmer. The first 4 years we had quite the honeymoon phase with him. We ended up going to an NFC championship with Case Keenum riding on the back of Zimmer's powerful defense.
Classic.
And this is where it all sort of starts to fall apart. Because after that slight taste of glory, that hope, the team decided that this was the opportunity to strike. This was the opportunity to bring a Super Bowl to Minnesota for the first time in history. So they went out and they got Kirk Cousins because they needed an upgrade at the quarterback position. Mike Zimmer publicly stated that it was the wrong move. He didn't literally say, don't sign Kirk Cousins, but he basically said it when he said, if we make the wrong decision here, hint, hint, it will cost me my job. We signed Cousins to the first guaranteed multi-year contract for a player in NFL history. And every year since then, we have doubled down on, nope, we're going to keep everybody, all the core together. We're going to keep paying everybody, and we're going to run it back. 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 So it's been 4 years of running it back with Kirk Cousins. And the last 2 years, we have not made the playoffs, and Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman, the GM, got fired. Now, when that originally happened, my thought was, okay, this is the long overdue rebuild. This is finally admitting that, okay, the 2017 team, it happened, and doubling down over and over again didn't work. Let's clean house and start over. But instead, even though we have a new GM and a new coach, the roster, other than a couple moves, looks identical. And so that's where this confuses me, is because it seems that we are continuing to follow down the same mistakes that got Zimmer and Spielman fired, but we specifically hired two people who were willing to keep Kirk around and keep the core together. And this is why I think it's an ownership problem. An example is that the GM was between two guys, Ryan Poles and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Ryan Poles ended up going to Chicago, and we've seen him completely tear down the organization. Our guy, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, has not really done much of anything. And so this tells me that ownership is 100% unwilling to do a rebuild. And I think that although I like the new coach, Kevin O'Connell, comes from the Rams system, and I like some of the moves that we made. We got Zadarius Smith, we got Jordan Hicks, Jesse Davis, Albert Wilson. I think those are fine moves. I think that we've addressed a lot of our issues, but I think we're still trying to run back a team that's over the hill. And you know, my biggest problem with the Vikings is not that we're bad, it's that we're mediocre. It's that we're always picking 12th to 14th in the draft. It's that we seem to be excited about being okay. It's that we're just happy to be there. We're just happy to be a part of the party. And a Super Bowl, is that really realistic? Could we ever really make that? That's the problem that I have with the Minnesota Vikings, and it seems to not be a coaching problem, a management problem. It seems to be an ownership problem, and it seems to be a greater cultural problem with the fan base.
Yeah, I didn't really. I like your what your GM did in the off season. I thought he drafted horribly though. Like the moves he was doing in the draft, that
Yeah.
first round, he botched that really badly,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not saying that Lewis Sines gonna be a bad safety, but what was the point in trading back those two times? Right, traded back two times.
Yeah, he seems to be quite the analytical guy. He's not really like born in football. He's a math guy. He went to an Ivy League school. So he's all about spreadsheets and trying to find value and doing the right analytical moves. And look, I like the guy. I'm not trying to shit on him. And honestly, yeah, Lewis Seen and Andrew Booth are already starting to look good in camp. Ed Ingram, I mean, he might even start this season as a guard. So he might have made decent picks, but by trading around so many times, it seems like he overthought the process. And that was one of the things that we didn't like about Rick Spielman is that he would trade back and trade back and trade back, and then draft 17 guys in the sixth and seventh round that never played a down. And you're sitting there going, what was the point of that when we could have had this guy or this guy or this guy? And obviously, it's revisionist history to go back and say, we could have had Lamar Jackson. Why did you sign Kirk? But still, it's just when you see somebody doing the exact same thing as the people who just got fired, you're sitting there going, why did we fire the guy that was going to do the same fucking thing as you? And that's what's so strange about the Vikings is that it seems like the changes in coaching and GM were more about PR and making it seem like there's a new regime. And really, we're going to get more of the same because the owners just kind of want to be an owner and make money, and they don't really care about winning a Super Bowl.
Last year you guys were 8-9, and I think a lot of the games that the Vikings played, just like the Lions, were games that were close, and they either collapsed or something happened where obviously they lost those outcomes. But I mean, I don't know, man. The Vikings, they have a lot of really good weapons. They have some nice pieces on both sides of the ball. I think there's always going to be the question mark of Kirk, but Kirk is the most perfect middle quarterback ever.
Yep.
Maybe the most average, perfect, like good average player of any sport ever.
I mean, just
Kirk
look at
Cousins
his
is the
overall.
definition of it.
Look at his overall wins and losses. You can say that wins and losses aren't a quarterback stat, but the quarterback's the most important player on the field. Look at his wins and losses career wise. It's literally 500 down to the
That's
ties.
facts.
So every team he's been on has constantly become 8-8, 8-9, 9-8, and he has a couple anomalies where he'll win 10, and he has a couple anomalies where he'll win 7. And at some point, at some point through multiple teams, multiple regimes, multiple offenses, at some point it's him. At some point, there's no more excuses. He is just a 500 guy.
I think the biggest question for him is, I mean, the Lions and the Bears, they don't fucking matter. If the Vikings can at least take a game from Green Bay, it should really help their playoff chances. But I mean, that's kind of how it's been, right? Recently,
Yep.
The
Yep.
Vikings are always like the little brother,
Yep.
and then it's just the Packers always looking down on them.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I still think that trend is going to continue for a little bit. Justin Jefferson's one of my favorite players in the league, though. That guy's a god.
Oh yeah.
I hate his gritty dance, though.
It's
Everyone gritties.
yeah. I think it was Jamar Chase's originally, but he didn't get in the league as quickly as Jefferson, so it became a Jefferson thing.
The team that finished first, the Green Bay Packers, went 13-4. Lost in the divisional to San Francisco in one of the funniest games I've ever seen in my life. The Packers, they lost some pretty notable names for their team. Zadarius Smith, like you said, went to Minnesota. Devontae Adams in that trade. Equanimous St. Brown, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So they have no one to throw the ball to. Zadarius Smith has been a really good player. So that's going to hurt their defense a lot as well. They did add Jaron Reed, who kind of had a down year with Kansas City. And they do have Sammy Watkins. I don't think he can fill the void of how many? 3 wideouts that left them in the offseason. But the thing about the Packers that's really annoying is that they just end up winning all the time because of that man under center. I hate him, but Aaron Rodgers, he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time, man. Like, I can't explain it. He will pull something out of his ass every time and just fucking win these games. Unless it's against the 49ers. It's crazy.
Unless it's in the postseason that isn't 2010.
If it's a team wearing red in the postseason,
It's fucked.
he's fucked. Like
Or
the
if it's the
Cardinals.
Seahawks.
Think of all the teams that beat him. It's always like the Cardinals, the fucking Niners,
The
Tampa
Bucks.
Bay.
Yeah. I will say I might hate the Seahawks, but that NFC Championship where they came back is all time, and the fact that that is the memory that hurts Packer fans the most makes it even better.
Brandon Bostic, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember my brother is a Packers fan. He was not happy, and I was having the time of my life.
I'm very glad
that was
he
the
has
same-
not been happy
that was
for
the
a
same-
long time.
That was the postseason the Dez Bryant catch happened.
Yeah.
So I was very bitter towards the Packers.
Oh yeah.
But I have an interesting question because I mean, it's no secret that the Packers' success for the past, like, when did he take over? I think like 08, 09 has pretty much just been Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no denying it, right? So a lot of people, when McCarthy left, it was like, oh, Rodgers made McCarthy. So I just want to bring up this point. Do you think LaFleur is legit, or do you think it's like the same thing? And it's just Rodgers is that talented?
I don't think we're gonna know until Rodgers is gone how good of a coach LaFleur is. I will say this though, LaFleur is smarter than Mike because LaFleur knows
Well,
that if
that's
he
saying a
stays
lot.
out of the way, that Rodgers will just figure it out and win them games. So I have no idea how good of a coach LaFleur is, but I definitely do know that Big Mike was a huge problem, and LaFleur is not repeating the same mistakes that Mike McCarthy made. I
Big
think
Mike
that
is still a big problem.
yes, and I mean, Rodgers is going to be good this year. The Packers are going to be good this year. I do think they take a little bit of a step back. Um, just because I don't think that they'll be the same without Adams, but I think that they're still going to be competitive. I think that they're going to play really well and they're going to win the division. So, um, I hate them, but I'm not going to let that cloud my judgment for a prediction. Like, it's what it is.
Yeah. And then before we give standings, once again, the Packers refused to draft a wide receiver in the first round
Yeah.
when they needed wideouts.
Yeah.
All right. I believe it's your turn to go first for the standings.
Okay.
Unless you want to go
So
last, because this is your division.
no, I'll go. I'll go. I got Chicago Bears at last, going 3-13-1. Their tie, if you remember, is to the Texans. Yeah, they're gonna be bad. Um, Next, I have the Detroit Lions going 6-11. So still not great. They make a step. It's not a huge step, but they win a couple more games. They're happy. Then I have the Minnesota Vikings, and this is the hardest team for me to pick because I know that I have my biases. Um, Last year, um, we went 8-9, and I said, I think that we are similar. I think that we're, going to be around 500. I have us going 9-8 and making the playoffs as the seventh seed. So I think that we will sneak in. I will admit that part of the reason I said this is because I wanted to have some more parity in my teams that make the playoffs, and also because you know one can dream, right? But also, I think it's a good point to say that having an offensive coach that isn't barking at the offensive coordinator to constantly run the ball, even when that's not what we need to do, that's enough to win an extra game. So just that alone. I mean, Mike Zimmer did a lot to fuck up leads. So I think that we're good for one more win, but we're still going to be around 500, and we're going to go to the playoffs. Maybe we'll get the Nickelodeon game, and then Kirk Cousins could win the MVP. And then
That would be the best troll.
I think I you
Give it
know
to
what?
Kirk.
Boom. That's my prediction. Kirk Cousins will win the playoff MVP. In the
Mitch, Dak, and Kirk.
Those will be the three. That'll be what a fucking elite group. And then the Packers will go 12-5. I think they're gonna be my three. They're my 3 seed. So yeah,
Okay.
good season for the Packers again.
They're my 3 seed too.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so I have the exact same. Like every team is in the same order, but I have different records. I have the Bears going 2-15, worst record in the league. They're gonna have the #1 pick.
Number one, baby.
I just don't see it. They, I'm gonna. This is the second year one of us has been super low on the Bears. No. You said the Eagles were gonna go undefeated.
I said that the Eagles would not win a
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the Bears originally only winning one game, but I was like, no, I can't do that. They'll win another one, but I just don't see it. Rip to Justin Fields, man. Because when you get that #1 pick, they're probably just going to dump him for Bryce Young or someone like that coming in. So,
Yep.
then I have the Lions also going 6-11. Honestly, you said it wasn't like a big, jump in wins, but I think that's a big improvement for a Lions team that, like you said, Matt Patricia was there earlier. They didn't really have a good culture, but Dan Campbell seems to be changing that.
I'll tell
I
you
think
what,
if they
man.
can double their wins, like that's a really good season for them.
Yeah.
And then I have the Vikings also making the playoffs. I have them at 10-7.
Wow.
So kind of
An
similar to what
optimist.
you were thinking. I think they can win a couple more games. I mean, they lost that one to Detroit. That was kind of a fluke game. Stuff like that just happens.
Cardinals missing
Um,
a last-minute field goal.
yeah, the Cardinals as well. And I think some of the teams that they're going to be playing this season, they're going to be not as sharp. Especially like the Cardinals. I think you guys are replaying. You guys are rematching this year.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. I have the Packers at 13-4 to finish the division. They are also my number 3 seed.
Okay.
I don't even have a reason for it. I just know somehow Aaron Rodgers is gonna do some bullshit and get that.
Yep.
It's what happens every time.
Yep. And then losing the playoffs.
And then losing the playoffs, but
Yep.
only if it's against a team that wears red.
Yes. Or the Seahawks that one time.
Or the Seahawks, yeah.
But the
But
Seahawks are not
Seahawks,
touching.
They ain't going
So
shit.
it's just the red rule this year for A-Raj and the Packers.
Now we get to talk about the greatest division in all of football, the NFC East, more commonly known as the NFC Least recently, because it's the worst division in football. But also, I would argue the most entertaining division to see who's just the worst every year. And that leads us to the New York Football Giants, who were 4-13. Legendary coach Joe Judge sadly was fired. Although, remember they said that they were gonna keep him for like a couple days. They kept being like, "Oh, we're gonna keep him.
They're like,
We're
lol,
bringing
JK.
we're bringing Joe Judge back."
Was Jason Garrett fired mid this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Fucking Coach Clapp get his no. Okay, the Giants, they lost a lot of players. They lost James Bradbury, Logan Ryan, Kyle Rudolph, Austin Johnson, Evan Ingram, Jabril Peppers, Will Hernandez, Lorenzo Carter. But they have Tyrod, which is cool. And Mark Lewinsky, he's like a guard. They also had a pretty good first round draft. Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon, he was kind of hyped up as being like, a top 5 pick, which he ended up being. And Evan Neal is considered the best offensive lineman, I believe he was considered. He's out of Alabama. I haven't been paying attention to training camp reports, but I heard someone say that one of them was struggling. I forget who, but that's just training camp. Doesn't say a lot about, what they're going to end up being. Their new coach is Brian Dable, and they are keeping Daniel Jones as their quarterback. Thoughts on the Giants?
I mean, Giants, what the fuck are we doing? I mean, every year it's like they just fucking tread water. I mean, they're just like the Jets. I don't know what it is about the water over in Jersey, but they just don't do anything. They just run around in circles. Here's what I'll say. Brian Dable, I like him. I want him to be successful. I think that, in this NFL, hiring an offensive mind is a good idea, and anything is probably better than Joe Judge as your coach.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Joe Judge, Matt Patricia. There's just some of those guys. I mean, offensive geniuses. Look at what New England's doing. But like Danny Dimes, like he's gonna be a good backup, but like he's just not a franchise guy, and they know that. They're rebuilding. They're finally going into something that they're gonna tank here and get a quarterback for the future and try to build something up. It's not necessarily they're not in a bad position, because if they get a good draft pick this year and they do hit on a quarterback, like you said, they had a good draft last year, getting an end, like a tackle, a guard, a receiver. I mean, yeah, they won't be good for a few years, but they might be doing it right. We'll see. And now that their GM's gone, I mean, Jesus, that's gonna Gettleman. That's gonna improve them quite a bit already.
So the thing about the Giants, I remember the season before they drafted Daniel Jones. A lot of people don't remember this, but Gettleman spent a lot of money on some free agents because he wanted to start competing with Philly and Dallas. Eli was getting up there, and they just fucking sucked. And it seems like every season the Giants keep trying new things and nothing sticks for them. They bring in Kenny Golladay, good, decent wide receiver in Detroit. Sucks. They don't have any wideouts that got a touchdown last year. Kadarius Toney, he was their first round pick last year. He had some flash. He fucking destroyed us in a game last season. He's had flashes, and he already wants to be traded from their team. Like, they're just the punching bag of the league right now, in my opinion.
Aren't they the losingest team since the fucking Odell yacht photo?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Before the playoff game.
Yeah.
All of them are gone off the Giants. All those players.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. I just don't take the Giants seriously, and them keeping Daniel Jones just kind of shows to me that they're just restarting again. To be fair, when they did all that stuff, when they first got Daniel Jones, it was kind of like a soft rebuild. And this time it seems like they're trying to fully commit, but I mean, I don't really see why they're trying to get another year out of him. Because, I mean, the worst case scenario for their team is that Daniel Jones has a good season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, realistically. Because if he does, if I mean, this is not going to happen, right? But they want, like, a top 5 pick, clearly.
Yeah.
With, they didn't re-sign anyone, and the additions that they did aren't going to really do anything. So I think the Giants are just going to play into the whole NFC lease thing. They're going to try and lose as many games as possible and just hope for a better quarterback. Because I don't think they're going to bring back Daniel Jones.
I agree.
Oh, and Saquon. Saquon is gone as well.
He's gone.
Can't stay healthy. Gone. It's a shame.
Yeah.
All right. The third team in the division was the Washington football team, who went 7-10 and got a makeover. They are now known as the Washington Commanders. What are your thoughts on this name change, the jerseys, the logo? You like it?
First of all, I'm a pretty big fan of football team. I thought it was funny. I thought it was a good compromise to sort of keep your history in a way by not renaming your team, but also not having your team name be a racial slur. I thought it was a good middle ground. I thought it grew on most people. It was unique. So that's my initial bias, is that I just really liked Washington football team. I loved seeing like the lists where they'd have the names instead of the cities, and it would be like Chargers, Chiefs, football team. It was awesome. The Commanders is the most bland, EA generated, boring name you could have come up with. The jerseys look like shit, especially the white ones.
Yeah, the white's really bad.
The black helmets with the fucking W at the front, it's just terrible. I mean, the Washington Commanders is just, it's so lame, it's so generic, and it's just disappointing because we could have just had football team forever, and I think everyone would have been happy.
Just because, I mean, I've been watching Washington games for a long-ass time whenever they play Dallas, so that the old name is so ingrained to me, just because growing up, that's what we called them. That's what I knew them, right? As. That's what I heard everyone say their name as. But when football team was their name, I started thinking of them as football team. Now that they're the Commanders, I think of them as the Skins again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I don't know, I find that kind of ironic because the whole purpose of the name change is for PC-ness, you know.
Yeah.
Well, not PC-ness. It is a actual racial slur. That was their fucking nickname. But Commanders, like you said, it really is like a Madden generated. You moved your team to like Portland, and you got to pick a name.
Yeah.
I find the W super lazy, and the Washington. Oh man, I gotta find the. I gotta remember what they call it.
I will say that the helmets with the
alternate.
matte maroon paint and the logo,
Mm-hmm.
I think those look awesome. Like, I don't love the W, but like I just think that like that part of it looks really great. But the rest of it is a bit of a disaster in my opinion.
The black uni is the biggest mistake in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
I hate the little W that they have on top of the helmet in the middle. It looks stupid. And then they have the number on the side. Like, what are you doing, man? But back to the actual football. They lost Brandon Scherf, Matt Ioannidis, two pretty solid players. But that's all okay because of one player that they have now. Carson Wentz, their new sheriff in town. They also have Troy Turner, who's pretty good, and Andrew Norwell. So, some good moves. I'm a big Carson Wentz fan. I don't know about you. How do you think Wentz will be doing in Washington?
Why would you purposefully have Carson Wentz as your quarterback? Like, why?
Because it's funny.
It's so funny, dude. Like, I mean, okay, him in that uniform fits because it's just, I mean, Washington's just a clown show. Are you kidding me? This guy sprained both of his ankles in the same game. Like,
oh my god.
This guy lost to Jacksonville in front of a crowd dressed up as clowns. The worst team in the league, he lost to him and missed the playoffs. Like, this guy's like, why does he keep getting a chance? Why does he keep getting money? Like, I don't understand. I'm missing something.
What a fall from grace, man. He was gonna win that MVP. Like that Nick Foles thing really did break him. It seems like.
Yeah, all the injuries and like, look, I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick. Like, he's made his money. He had a lot of success in college, and he proved that he was a good quarterback. And then this happened. It's sort of like Cam Newton. Cam Newton came to the league, and he won that MVP because he finished that year, and he went to the Super Bowl, and it didn't work out, in that game. And then he got hurt, and his shoulder was shot, and that's that. It doesn't make him any worse of a player, like, overall his career, but it sure doesn't mean I want him on my fucking team. And it's the same thing with Carson Wentz is, why would you still allow this person to be on your football field on purpose?
So I think Wentz is an improvement over Heineke. I like Heineke, but he's clearly a backup.
Yeah.
The only thing about getting Carson Wentz is you're trading for a guy who has a lot of problems turning the ball over, taking a lot of sacks. He's gotten injured before. But also, like, it's fucking Carson Wentz. Like, no one is scared of him. No one believes in him. You literally, like, Indy sent him there to die. They're just like, all right, Carson, get the hell out of here. That's why he looks so sad in this photo. like that's why he looks so just depressed. And you know what? I feel bad for him a little bit. I'm like, damn Carson, like, fuck, man.
He got his money.
I don't know.
He got his money.
That's true.
And He's gonna be fun to watch. That's for sure. Uh,
Oh yeah, the biggest thing about Washington is their defense that was so good in 2020 completely imploded. Just not the same. Chase Young wasn't the same. Jonathan Allen was punching his teammates. Like I remember Dallas put like 56 on him.
Jesus.
It was just not a good season for Washington's defense. Um, and honestly, I don't really know if they're gonna rebound.
I don't see
Like they
it.
have nice pieces. Yeah, I think it was just a fluke season because I mean the East runs through either Philly or Dallas depending on the year, right? And in 2020, they both had bad circumstances happen,
Yep.
and then Washington just came out of nowhere. So a lot of people were just hyped for it. That's I don't know. That's just how I see it. I've never taken Washington that serious because I mean, look back at every time Washington has won the division in like the 2010s to now.
Mm-hmm.
The only time they won it and it wasn't a fluke was the RG3 year.
I was gonna say that was the one time.
Because
RG3 was really good.
2015. Sorry.
I was just saying, yeah, like RG3 was really good that year, but other than that, it's always been just like everybody else was terrible.
Yeah, 2015. Romo got hurt. I think that was the Chip Kelly disaster season for the Eagles.
Fucking Chip Kelly.
And then 2020 happened and it was the same thing, right? Like the Eagles had the whole quarterback controversy with Wentz and Hurts, and then Dak broke his ankle and Washington was just like, "Oh, I guess it's our turn." So I don't know. I think Dan Snyder is the worst owner in the league, and I just don't think Washington's going to really do anything. I think they're going to pretty much be around that like 7-10 record again.
Yeah.
All right, the team that finished second, the team that Keegan believed was gonna win no games, the Philadelphia Eagles. They went 9-8. They lost to Tampa in the wild card. They've added some pretty good players actually. James Bradbury, he's had a couple good years before. Hassan Reddick, AJ Brown is the biggest one. They traded for him. He's a really good wide receiver. And they also got Jaquiski Tart, who was the Niners player that dropped the interception. Always bringing that up.
Oh yeah.
So, big point. Is Hurts good or bad?
Hurts, for starters, isn't Carson Wentz. I think that Hurts has a pretty defined ceiling, so I don't think he's a superstar. I think he's perfectly serviceable in achieving what the Eagles need right now. He's not a Super Bowl kind of quarterback at all. But, you know, he figures it out. He wins games, and he's at least good for now.
I don't. I might be biased because I just really hate the Eagles, but I don't see it. I don't think he's garbage, like everyone keeps saying, just a meme on him. But I don't think he's this franchise guy, right? Like,
Yeah.
the Eagles definitely could improve.
Yep.
I honestly think Jimmy G's a better quarterback.
I agree.
They could have, like, I don't really see. I mean, maybe with AJ Brown, I think Devonta Smith's really, really good as well. Maybe those two really good wideouts will help him with his throwing. There's no question about his running, but I think because the Eagles were the number one rushing team last year, I think teams are going to take that away from them. And so this goes into my other big question. The Eagles have been getting a lot of hype. I don't know if you've noticed or been paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's hyped on the Eagles, and you know what? I'm a hater. I don't see it. I don't believe in it.
I don't really think that the Eagles are, like, for real, like, contenders. I don't even think they're, like, a dark horse. I do think
Mm.
that in the NFC least, they are going to be pretty competitive. They'll be one of the top two teams by default. And I think they're a playoff team, and I'll leave it at that for now because we're going to talk about standings at some point. But I mean, when you say people are hyped, what are they saying? Are they saying Super Bowl? Are they saying take a big step? Are they saying what is it?
Well, they have Philly taking the division. They have Philly top 10 power rank team. I'm seeing their defense is getting really hyped up. I agree with the defense. I think the defense is going to be really good for them. But Jalen Hurts is getting a lot of like positive projections. It's kind of just strange to see
Yeah,
because Philly, I don't really know. I just don't. Their whole game last year was running. Like that was their main thing. And I don't think they're going to be able to do that again
yeah,
because they just started doing it kind of like later on in the season. Like they figured out, oh yeah, shit, we could just run the whole time, right? And then they started winning games, but they don't really have like a number one running back. They have Hurts, but I think they're gonna try and force Hurts to be more of a passer this season with the moves that they've made. They want to cash in on an AJ Brown and obviously their draft pick of Devonta Smith, and I don't think that's gonna work out for them. I do have the Eagles making the playoffs, but I don't see them going far.
okay.
I hate them, and I hate Nick Sirianni so much. But yeah. The last team we have, they finished first. The Dallas Cowboys. They went 12-5. They lost to the Niners in the wild card round because we thought it was a good idea to slide with 13 seconds left. We lost Amari Cooper because we traded him for a sixth round draft pick, which was a really smart idea. I love that we could only get a sixth rounder for Amari Cooper. Pro Bowl wide receiver. Sixth rounder from fucking Cleveland. Lyle Collins, we just cut. He's going to be in Cincinnati. Cedric Wilson went to Miami. We tried re-signing Randy Gregory, and then we told him not to smoke weed or something, and then he got mad, and then he signed with Denver. So all we did in the free agency was we signed Dante Fowler Jr., who sucks, and James Washington. And then James Washington like broke his leg, so he's gonna be out for 8 weeks. When we're already light on wide receivers, so it's awesome that we traded Amari and didn't try and keep Cedric Wilson. Mike McCarthy is awful. We were the most penalized team last season. We probably are going to be at least a top 3 penalized team because I don't believe Mike McCarthy knows how to discipline his players. Trayvon Diggs is not a all-pro corner. I like him, but goddamn, dude. Guy gets beat a lot. Guy gives up a lot of yards. When he's making picks, you love him. When he's not, yeah. Elliott is still going to be the number one running back when he really shouldn't be. Pollard got 5.5 yards per carry. He should be the number one back. But they're not going to do it because Zeke, has way too much money. CeeDee Lamb's going to be the number one wideout now, which is fine if he can fix the drops that he has. They're really banking on Jalen Tolbert. He was our, I believe, 3rd round draft pick. He's a wide receiver out of South Alabama. They're really banking on him being a number 2 till Michael Gallup gets back. And then James Washington gets back. They'll probably keep him in the slot. But aside from Dak and Parsons, there's a lot of question marks with our players that worries me. Like DeMarcus Lawrence, once again, I mean, he was injured, but once again, the production is not there for the contract that we signed him to in 2018. Dalton Schultz had a breakout season, but I just don't really see him having those same numbers. Hopefully, he proves me wrong. Tyron Smith, Once again, got hurt last season. That's the second straight year he hasn't played more than 12 games. Zach Martin is a Hall of Famer. No worries from him. But yeah, there's a lot of concerns that we have, but I think Dallas definitely benefits from playing in the weakest division. And you know what? We're not a bad team. We have a good offense. Micah Parsons is going to be one of the greatest players of the next decade, which I'm really happy about. But honestly, even if we make the playoffs, we're just going to choke it like we always do anyway. So hopefully Big Mike gets fired, and hopefully we don't get Sean Payton, because that'll just be brutal. Sorry, guys. I'm not a Sean Payton guy. I don't want him coming to Dallas.
Okay.
Oh, and Dak Prescott is not an 89 overall quarterback, and I'm a Dak stan. He's rated too highly in Madden.
So I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
One, what is your expectation for the season as a Cowboys fan? Like, it's this or the season was a failure. Where do you see that line?
I mean, the thing with Dallas is we're always hoping for the Super Bowl, right? But realistically, honestly, I just want to make the playoffs 2 years in a row. We have not done that. God, I don't even know if I was fucking alive for that, right? It's always just it's always just make the playoffs 1 year, then we don't come back to it, and then we might come back the year after that, or we might wait 2-3 years. I hope we're able to actually repeat as division champs. That should be within our reach. I still think we're a better overall team than Philly, but I just don't see us winning a playoff game that's deep. Wild card round, yeah, but I don't see us being a team deep enough to make it past the divisional.
What record do you need to see to convince you to keep Mike McCarthy? What record do you need to see to convince you to fire Mike McCarthy? And is there an in-between where you'd be apathetic and say, I don't really care what they do this year?
I think McCarthy needs to at least win double-digit games. I don't ever want to see 9-8 or 8-9 because it'll just give me PTSD of Coach Clapp. I think if we do end up getting 8-9 or 9-8, fuck it, fire McCarthy, dude. Like, no one really trusts him. He's proven time and time again to botch really obvious coaching decisions, and like I said, like, we have a very undisciplined team, and that's kind of been a problem for the Cowboys for at least since the Romo days. We get penalized a lot, and that still isn't being fixed under a new regime, which I don't like. It feels like his coordinators do a lot more of the work than him. Not saying that we should have Kellen Moore or Dan Quinn become the head coach, but I mean, goddamn, does Mike McCarthy mess up all the time on easy things like calling timeouts, when to go for it on fourth down, and he said the whole time, "Oh, I was studying my year away from football. I was studying and watching film," and then we lose in the playoff game, and he's like, "Oh no, I just made that up. I just wanted the job." I don't like him.
So, last question here. So the three candidates for head coach after you fire McCarthy are Jerry's boys, right? You got Sean Payton, who you already mentioned, Dan Quinn, who you mentioned, and Mike Zimmer. Mm-hmm. Which do you pick and why?
Sean Payton, because he's a proven head coach. He was our offensive coordinator before, going to the Saints. I mean, the guy pretty much found Tony Romo. He was the reason he was our quarterback. Sean Payton's a good offensive mind, and the Cowboys have always been like an offensive-driven team since the Romo days, like late Romo days. So I think he's a better pick. I think Zimmer, I mean, shit. I've heard all the things you've said about Zimmer, and I've seen it. And who was the
Dan
other
Quinn.
one? Oh, Dan Quinn. 28-3 is all I've got to say to that. I don't want that. At least all Mike McCarthy will do is just be like, "Oh, hey Dak, how about you slide down the middle?" I know he didn't tell
So
him.
you'd
to do
rather
that,
have Mike McCarthy than Dan Quinn as your head coach?
You know what? Yeah, I think I would, honestly.
Okay.
I think Dan Quinn is a better coordinator.
Yeah,
Like, he's a very good coordinator.
I agree.
As a head coach, he wasn't, like, bad, but I've seen a lot of Dan Quinn collapse. I mean, we fucking came back on him, like, 27
Dude, that game was
to, like,
insane.
0.
I believe it's.
But yeah, Dak will have a good year.
Mhm.
Get him in fantasy because he's just a stat patter. That's what Reddit told me. We should win the division again, but it's the Cowboys, so we probably won't.
I
I
believe
have no
it's.
faith in my team.
I believe it's your turn to do the records here.
Yes, it is. I would love to tell you about the East. All right, so in last place I have the New York Giants. I have them going 3-14. I think it's the same old we've been seeing from them, from Daniel Derps, and they look forward to next season and the rebuild. In third place, I have the Washington Commanders. I have them going 6-11. Pretty much same old season from the Commanders. I don't think Carson Wentz is that good of a addition to make their win total increase that much. In fact, I have them losing one more game than when they had Heineke. Also, they should trade Terry McLaurin because they're just going to waste him. In second place, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. I have them going 9-8, making the playoffs as the last seed. I think because the NFC is super light, and I believe that the Niners and Cardinals will both take steps back, the Eagles will just luck their way into the playoffs, kind of. Not really luck, but, they're the leftover team. I don't really see it. I don't believe in Jalen Hurts. I'm also a biased hater, though, so we'll see. And then I have the Cowboys. I have us going 11-6. I think we take a step back, but I think because our division is so weak and we're playing the NFC North and the AFC South this year, so those are 4 gimme games, so we should be okay.
Okay, so for my number 4 team, I have the New York Giants going 3-14. Due to tiebreakers, this makes them the number 1 overall selection in the NFL draft.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they're going to be fucking terrible. My number 3 team is Washington, and I have them going 6-11, same as you. Sorry to say it, Brett. My next is the Dallas Cowboys. I have them going 8-9. I don't know. I could be very wrong. I'm sorry to say it, but Mike McCarthy.
Team out.
That's true. But that's just because you love Kirk Cousins. Look, I mean, Mike McCarthy, man, he's terrible. You guys lost Coop, who is a huge part of the offense running as smoothly as it did. Zeke is Zeke. I mean, I just don't see it personally, but we'll see. I mean, the Cowboys seem to be that every other year team to go to the playoffs, and I've been there. The Vikings have been that as well. I don't know. I see them missing it this year. Sorry to say. My number 1 is the Philadelphia Eagles, which probably hurts you more than me saying that the Cowboys will go 8-9. I have them going 10-7. Nothing spectacular, but I still have them winning the division.
Did you have them sweep us in the regular season?
No, I think you guys split.
Okay, good. As long as we didn't get swept by them.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for these NFC playoffs?
I am.
All right, you're going first.
Okay, so my number 1 seed is the LA Rams. My number 2 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My number 3 is the Green Bay Packers. Number 4 is the Philadelphia Eagles. My number 5 is the San Francisco 49ers. My number 6 is the New Orleans Saints. And my number 7 is the Minnesota Vikings. So I have this is where we get a little nutty with all these predictions. Is my NFC is fucking crazy. And let's just get into it. So Green Bay, New Orleans. I have New Orleans beating Green Bay. Green, like that's just where we're starting here.
You're trolling.
Nope. New Orleans beats Green Bay.
Okay, I like it. I like this.
I mean, like New Orleans always has a good defense, and when does Rodgers always tighten up in the playoffs? Is that he always does it against San Francisco. They have a very good defense, and I just think New Orleans, Rodgers doesn't have anybody to throw to. He makes it work during the regular season, but like look at the playoff game. He kept forcing it to the receivers he was comfortable with. If he doesn't have anybody that he's really comfortable with, I don't know what he's gonna do. So I see New Orleans beating him, and then I have San Francisco, Philly. I got San Francisco winning that. Tampa Bay, Minnesota. Tampa Bay wins, and Kirk Cousins wins the MVP. This means that the Rams play the Saints, and the Niners play Tampa Bay. So the Rams beat the Saints, because come on, I mean, it's just gonna happen. But San Francisco, they upset Tampa Bay and send off fucking Brady into retirement. So for the second year in a row, I have the LA Rams playing the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship. I know it's crazy to think that a rookie could make it this far. I think that Shanahan has found some fucking sorcery to be able to win games he shouldn't. I think that the Niners have constantly been due. I think that they have constantly been able to get back to these games no matter what, with the exception of when their entire team, not just one player, is injured. So I have the Rams and the Niners rematching in the NFC Championship, and I think in a weird, fluky game, McVay chokes it, and San Francisco goes to the Super Bowl. That's my crazy prediction.
You have Trey Lance in the Super Bowl.
I do.
As a rookie?
Yes.
Okay, he's having a Mahomes moment.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's going to be because of him. I think that he's going to hand the ball off a lot. I think he's going to do RPOs. I think that the offensive scheme, and I think that, not having a lot of tape on Lance helps a lot this season. I don't know. I also think that having a weaker division helps San Francisco a lot. I don't know. I know it's crazy, but I have San Francisco in the Super Bowl against Buffalo.
So let's do Super Bowl winners at the end.
Yeah.
So for my seeding, I have the Rams at 1, Tampa Bay at 2, Green Bay at 3, Dallas 4th, New Orleans 5, Minnesota 6th, and Philadelphia 7th. So I have Tampa Bay beating Philly. No brainer there. Sorry, Keegan, but I have the Packers beating the Vikings.
Okay.
I have the Cowboys beating the Saints because I don't trust Jameis. So then it's Green Bay versus Tampa, Dallas versus the Rams. The Rams absolutely destroy Dallas, of course. And I think Aaron Rodgers gets his revenge on Tom Brady.
Wow.
And it's the Packers and the Rams in the NFC Championship.
Damn. Okay.
And, like you,
yeah,
I have Sean McVay choking, and I have the Packers as my NFC pick.
Wow, okay.
I think Aaron Rodgers will take more American Ultra and LSD and shrooms, and he will trip his way into the Super Bowl.
Okay. I like it. I mean, I don't, but I like that you
All
didn't
right.
pick Tampa.
Yeah, I didn't want to pick the Rams either. And
Yeah.
I mean Dallas, like I'm not that fucking delusional.
Yeah.
I didn't feel I don't really trust New Orleans, Minnesota, and Philly. They're kind of the same as Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Um, Honestly, there's really only well, there's only three teams I really see making it, just because I'm not as high on Shanahan and Trey Lance or the Cardinals. So it's
I needed
really
something.
Green Bay, the Rams, or Tampa.
I needed something to top my Baltimore pick from last year, so I thought, let's go with something fucking crazy. Because my
Yeah, I
original,
picked Green Bay when they have no wideouts.
true, my 1.0, it was like, oh, Tampa and Buffalo, and it's like, well, that's fucking boring. What can I do to spice this up? Let's go hotter takes.
I like the hotter takes.
So who's your champion?
So the winner of the Super Bowl is Buffalo. You think I'm gonna pick the fucking Packers to win the Super Bowl? Nah, fuck Green Bay. This was a hate pick all along. I want the Packers to go to the Super Bowl and get embarrassed, and all the little Packer fans are gonna cry and bitch like they always do. And once again, Aaron Rodgers is gonna be proven to be a whiny little bitch, and he's gonna be just like Brett Favre.
Is it going to be the
1-1 in
ref's
the Super
fault?
Bowl.
Is it going to be the receiver's fault? Is it going to be whose fault is it? Because it's never, it's never the team's fault. There's always a scapegoat with Packer fans. Whose fault is it?
There's gonna be none because the Bills are gonna systematically destroy them
Everything
on every level.
They're gonna
I want
destroy
like
them.
Dallas versus Buffalo in the Super Bowl level of dominance. Bears, Patriots, fucking Niners. Who did they do? Oh, Niners, Chargers level of like
9-6.
Broncos, Seahawks. You know,
Oh,
I
you're
want
talking
one
about
of those
blowout.
games.
Okay.
Yeah, I want the blowout.
65
Like really bad
to
blowouts
3.
though.
I like it. Sorry, Buffalo, but you will be the first team to go to 5 Super Bowls and lose them, because San Francisco hoists the Lombardi. Trey Lance records a fucking completion percentage of like 56, and it's a defensive battle, 9-6 game. San Francisco wins. I don't like it, but I predicted it.
9-6.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy shit. That's gonna be worse than Patriots Rams.
It's gonna be fucking brutal.
Holy shit. Okay, so can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did you subconsciously have the Bills losing so that you can say that they've lost more Super Bowls than the Vikings?
No. So the thing is, if Buffalo went to the Super Bowl, I'd root for them because unless it was against the Vikings, of course. I just can't see them doing it. Like it sucks to say because it's like
Okay.
I guess you couldn't see the Eagles do it before they did. I guess you couldn't see the Saints, but like it's so hard to imagine that I don't know. I think it's more likely that there's a crazy weird run that makes no sense and a rookie wins than Buffalo, and maybe that's wrong, but I cannot see them actually winning the Super Bowl. I'm sorry to say.
I'm not gonna lie. I did think you were gonna pick Philly when you told me I wasn't gonna like the Super Bowl pick. And if you did pick Philly, I was gonna delete the entire podcast
Yeah, there's no way
out
could
of
do
spite.
that. I still don't think that San Francisco is as crazy as like Philly or New Orleans.
No,
It's pretty crazy, but yeah.